So I've been cycling, let's see, maybe around 10 years or so. What normally goes through my head while riding, it really depends on my mood and like how I'm gonna ride. Because sometimes if I'm just going out for like a stroll, like I'm just feeling good, I'm feeling happy, I just want to go out there and like see some cool stuff, listen to some music. If I'm exercising, it's like a completely different ballpark, you know, it's a lot of pain in your legs. It's like working out. So some of the challenges while riding, if you're doing like big rides and stuff like that, is you're fighting through the pain constantly. And sometimes in a way that's almost like my therapy is like I'm telling myself like my legs hurt right now, but I still have like 40 miles to go on this ride. Like how am I going to even manage? So some rides are like very fun and enjoyable, and as weird as this sounds, some rides are like miserable, but then once you're done, you're like, I feel so good. Right now, I'm more of just a casual rider as far as my cycling goes. In the past, I was doing a little bit of racing, so it was kind of all over the place. I don't really stick to one area, but I was racing for a little while. Nothing too crazy, wasn't professional or anything like that, but did have a cycling team that I'd ride for, as well as a coffee shop that would sponsor us as well back in the day. And from there, racing, casual riding, form of exercise. I guess as time goes on, it kind of shifts from here and there. I probably visited within like the past 10 years or so, like a rough ballpark of 100 coffee shops or so. I like cycling so much because it's like a mind cleanser. I use that time to do like a lot of self-reflecting, like whatever's going on in my life, and kind of like a good way to like stress relieve and kind of like problem solve naturally. Cycling actually taught me like a lot of structure in my life. So I met my main group of friends through cycling, believe it or not. I went on Facebook, looked for group rides, went to this random group ride, and now I met like my 5 closest friends through there. You know, getting out on the road, cycling, exercising is definitely good for your body and your mind. And so I think it's just done nothing but great things for me. For most cyclists, either to start or end or middle of your ride, it's tradition to stop by and grab coffee. It's just a way to fuel your ride, a way to get energy, and just like a nice way to relax too. So when I first started riding, I actually didn't even like coffee. And it wasn't until I got onto a team, we were sponsored by a coffee shop called Augie's Coffee. And so part of our sponsorship was if you're wearing your kit and you come in, you actually get free coffee. But next thing you know, I was asking the baristas more questions of like, what am I drinking exactly? Like, what is this? And so my interest from cycling also kind of transitioned to an interest of coffee as well, which is pretty cool. If we're talking about just the coffee itself, one of my favorite things to do are pour overs, which is really interesting because there are so many variables. You just have coffee grounds and water, but it goes into like your water filtration, it goes into like the grind size of your coffee, it goes into like how you're pouring and like what sort of ratios you're doing that make your coffee taste completely different. And I think that's the most interesting to me, is because like how can I brew this to make sure it tastes as best as possible to where you're really getting all those flavor notes. And you can talk about that with like espresso as well, or like any sort of aspect of coffee. But for me personally, I really enjoy the pour overs. And I think just kind of like tinkering with, hot water and coffee beans is like really, really dope. So I like going to different coffee shops because every spot you go to has a different vibe completely, as far as like the way they lay everything out, as far as their drink offerings and stuff like that. So I guess a lot of people can probably just go to one spot and stick to that one spot and be totally content. But I think the reason why I liked going to different spots is because, similarly to like wearing clothes, you like to pick out a specific like genre or like style for yourself. And I think with coffee shops, it's kind of the same thing. So every spot you would go to would kind of have like a different aesthetic, and kind of checking out everyone's own like creations of coffee shops or menu or layout, I always thought was like super interesting. What makes a coffee shop good to me is probably, I'm going to break it down into like 3 categories. So you have your quality of the coffee, you have the shop atmosphere, the vibe, the looks of everything, and the customer service. So when I'm looking for a good coffee shop, I'm looking for kind of a mixture of all 3 things. Sure, you can excel in one area more than others, but I think that balance of having like good coffee, good customer service with like staff that knows what they're talking about, friendly in what they're doing, and also like a cool, pleasant, like hip environment to hang around, to me is what makes a coffee shop really good. I decided to be a barista for the main reason of like wanting to enjoy my work. So being a coffee enthusiast beforehand, I always had like my eyes peeled. I was always looking at the baristas, seeing what they're doing, and they always seemed happy. I just wanted to do something that would keep me like happy, and it seemed like being a barista, having that sort of like pride in your craft and being able to like have a work environment where I felt comfortable and happy was like super important to me. So I think I was kind of driven to that. I think the main thing that works well with coffee and cycling is a lot of people that I'm riding with have like a similar sort of like vibe or attitude towards them that like blends very well with the coffee shop. And I think they just like complement each other very well. It's like, get some caffeine, you're energized, you go out for a bike ride. Similarly to wine, you know, you can drink a red wine and you know how people like do that swirling and they smell certain notes. I saw the baristas doing that as well, and I didn't even know where to start. So I just remember there's a lot of back and forth between my barista and I think that's what kind of like sparked a little bit of interest, because it's kind of like an art, and I appreciated that like a little bit at the time. And I think from there it kind of extended as I went there more.